welcome to my little IGTV interview show. Today I have my dear friend Carrie Keller. She is an aromatherapist, the creator of Life Aromatherapy, a line of essential oil-based products, scents, and jewelry, and inspired items based in Los Angeles, California. She's also an intuitive channel. She dedicates her life to helping people on their journey through healing, creating awareness and empowerment. She has received a following internationally. She has received a following internationally through her readings, her Life Toolkit program, luxury fragrance line, and inspirational items. And I have been basically I've been a supporter and a fan, and have used her products and her services over the years, and I think she's amazing, and I love her dearly, and that's why she's on here, because I want to introduce you guys to this incredible woman who has a lot of gifts and a lot of information to share. So welcome. How is your day out there in Los Angeles?
It's great. It's beautiful. Nice sunny day, and thank you for having me. I just adore you and your work, and so it's really fun. This is, for those of you that are joining us, my first live live event.
And not going to be your last either, that's for sure.
So but no, it's so nice to be here with you virtually.
Well, there's a lot that I want to talk about. I touched on some points, but I want to have you talk about yourself a little bit, as well as, beyond your introduction from me. So you've created, you have a line of aromatherapy sprays, which I use. And actually, here's one right here. She has them for the chakras. She has what, they're for the chakras.
Twinsies.
And this one is for the fifth chakra, so it makes sense that we both have it here because it's our ritual, or mine anyway. Anytime before I speak, I use this one, and it's just nice little, I close my eyes, I take an inhale, and I set an intention for whatever it is I'm going to be talking about. So she has these, she has perfume, and she does readings. Do you want to talk a little bit about each of those, and then we'll go more in depth, as conversation rolls on?
Sure. Yes. So I'm what they call a formulator. My background's in aromatherapy. I'm a certified aromatherapist. My years with that, it started my intuitive abilities, my kind of my draw to natural modalities started in my teens. It started with herbalism, reading about herbs, and then that led to aromatherapy, and then ultimately they became healing tools for me, because I'm what they call a highly sensitive person. I didn't really understand my intuitive gifts until a little later, until my early 20s. And, in my teens, I always felt different. I was experiencing things, wondering, if other people were experiencing things the same way, meaning just kind of feeling energies from people, knowing when someone was telling the truth or not. These little subtle things that made me actually feel very different, although I adapted and tried to integrate with everyone else. And but then these healing modalities, so the aromatherapy, became tools to help me feel comforted. And so my first line was the chakra sprays. I had in, my late 20s, I was just studying so much of self-study to understand my intuitive abilities. So I'm what they call an intuitive channel. I'm cognizant, which means clear, like knowing without knowing how or why. Clairaudient, where I hear messages from angels, from higher beings. I'm also a psychic medium. I connect with loved ones that have passed over. And I'm clairsentient, kind of feeling other people's emotions, feeling other people's energy. So later in life, when I was studying yoga, I did a lot of self-study. I had a mentor for many years, for 2 years specifically, to help me trust my abilities, because my abilities, I was perceiving things more and more, and I needed to understand it, because it really, I just wanted to understand what was happening. And So that helped me build confidence. So as I started doing readings, I wanted to create tools for other people. So the chakra sprays were my first tools. They were initially for me to help protect and clear my energy, my environment. I'm so sensitive that early on I couldn't use perfumes. I couldn't use cleaning products, commercialized cleaning products. So I started making my own products early on, in my early 20s. Um, and that was really helpful for me. And at the time, there weren't a lot of natural products in the market, believe it or not, because nowadays, there's a ton. But it was really important to me to provide natural, clean products. That were healing. And so it all started with, kind of doing healing on myself. And then that led to creating a line. And I love business. I'm an entrepreneur. So it was natural for me to think about ways to provide inspiration and these tools to other people. Um, the fragrances, skincare line, I was making all my own skincare products. That was the next launch of products. The perfumes, I was making my own perfumes because I couldn't really wear a lot of fragrances that were in the marketplace. And then people would ask me about the perfume. So that led to my fragrance line, which evolved over time. So hopefully that's a little bit of information for you. Yeah, but the product, the formulating's, my passion, but the readings, that's kind of the origin of why I started some of these, to create products for people.
And which is why I felt like you would be such an incredible person to talk about self-care, because you, and we've talked about this before, have to take self-care to basically a higher level than most of us in order to manage your energy. So I really feel like ever since I've known you, you've been like an expert. You've been an expert energetic manager. And that includes a lot of things that we try and practice, especially a lot of us in the yoga community and just in kind of like the self-awareness journey. um, Noticing who you're hanging out with, what you're reading, what you're listening to, um, and just how you're taking care of yourself on a daily basis. But I being close to you, so those of you who don't know this, Carrie and I lived in Phoenix. That's where we met. So I met her there. She and I both actually met when we were peddling our wares. We were at like a fair, and she like a holiday fair, and I had a leg warmer and arm warmer line at the time. And so I was selling my stuff, and Carrie
They
had
were
her.
awesome.
I know we did a trade. We fell in
So
love with each other that day, and she had her products there too. So that's how we met. And so just as far as like being an inspiration to me, I've known you since then, and I've learned more and more about you and your story, everything that you just told us about discovering your gifts. And really, I think it's very fascinating, and I'm sure a lot of people do. Like coming into that and even being like, what is this and how is it? And that's a whole separate conversation for us. And actually, my friend Willow is on right now. She's the accidental psychic at Nurture, where I'm
oh,
at.
hi,
So when you come,
Willow.
yeah, when you come, you'll have to meet her. And
Can't
so anyway,
wait.
so right now, as there's so much, there's so much we're all navigating to try and stay centered. I think anything that we can possibly learn to do to manage our energy in a positive way and keep it high is important. And I would love for you to share. I want to go more into your perfumes too by the end of this session as well. But some of the ways that you manage your energy, what do you do? When we talked about your sprays, you can talk more about them and the properties of essential oils. Maybe we start there and then you share some of your other daily rituals.
For sure. Yeah. And the first thing that comes to mind, I think with self care, at least, when I started this journey, is giving yourself permission. It's okay to feel different. It's okay to do things to kind of protect your energy. Sometimes we discount our intuition. Or we convince ourselves that we have to go along with something. So I really feel like, we all are intuitive. So my journey began with having confidence, with saying like, oh, I don't feel comfortable, or just kind of filtering out the things that made me feel uncomfortable. I'm not a weak, kind of fragile person. It's just really about energy. And I felt, more uplifted, more comforted when listening to inspiring music or music that's elevated. So music is a big tool for me outside of aromatherapy. Listening to music immediately shifts energy. And I think people kind of underestimate these tools that are, available to us, like, music. Those are vibrations. So music is part of my daily ritual, just
Mm-hmm.
always having music on.
Yeah.
um, and simple things like eating well. Like you're such an advocate for healthy lifestyle, and I started that early on as well. I started eating differently, eating foods that were nourishing, that are weren't processed. So diet is really important because that adds a grounding element. I in high school, um, I didn't know what to eat. I was eating differently. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Illinois. I was eating differently than my family, and it was a problem, because I stopped wanting to eat everything. And my mom's a wonderful cook, but I just, it was an intuitive process for me. But thankfully, my parents, everyone kind of went along with it. But I was, sometimes we just have to listen, and that's the most important thing. And then kind of inform ourselves with. So I read a lot. I read a lot about um, just spirituality, world religions, healthy eating. I was really kind of into books that educated me on just how to be well, like herbs for healing, and foods that carry vibrations and nourishment. So diet is a big one, and that, so I'm trying to get to very grounded everyday tools that I use, which is just as simple as music and getting plenty of rest, drinking plenty of water. And then the aromatherapy element, I use aromatherapy daily. It helps to clear my energy. I use sage, Palo Santo, just to like clear my environment, clear my aura. Taking baths, like baths with sea salt and essential oils, is so healing. Yoga, we're both yoga teachers. Yoga is doing stretching, simple stretching, helps move energy out of the body. I do that daily. And meditation is, for me, it's really important because that sets my day. I meditate every morning. I do breathing exercises. I do stretching, but I sit and I'm quiet, and that's really essential for me as a highly sensitive person. That's probably outside of getting out in nature, going on walks, which I also do daily. Meditating is really, really helpful. Um, and those are just outside of the aromatherapy and these
Mm-hmm.
other tools. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think a lot of people discount the power of these simple things that don't cost any money,
Mm-hmm.
and that they just are a matter of priority and discipline, honestly,
Yes.
you know. So getting outside for a walk, and you and I used to walk a lot out there in Los Angeles, and I'm a big walker and a big hiker. And music for me, I learned it changes things instantly.
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah. It just shifts. It can shift whatever mood you're in, and
Yeah.
kind of puts you in that vibration then. And
Yeah, so that's one of those conscious choices. Like, do you want to resonate with something at a higher level, or do you just kind of like want to, I don't, it's a choice. I think it's interesting to sit and really feel how music feels. I'm into kirtan, the
yeah,
chanting practice of
yeah,
yoga, and that is powerful stuff.
it really is. Yeah, it is.
So it changed my life. So, and singing too. So not just listening, but singing and
Yes.
like moving that energy. It's a breathing practice itself, you
Yeah,
know?
I love singing, chanting. Yes.
Yeah. So for your listeners, since I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, I just want to let all of your people who are tuning in, I
Oh,
want to let them know that my name is Nikki Aiello. So I live here in Denver, Colorado. I'm a recovery and life transition coach. So I help people not only recovering from substance abuse, but any major life transition that's destabilized them. And basically, they just need to get a new lifestyle, and it's overwhelming and it's daunting, all of these things that you listed, diet, self-care, of different practices, stretching, meditation, nature, like let's just get a plan and put it in place, and one that's practical and sustainable. And of course, there's more in addition to that, but that's what I do. I help people when they're kind of after they're through a lot of their trauma therapy and they're ready to take more action. That's what I do. Carrie and I met, I was doing the math yesterday. I think it was 8 to 10 years ago, you know?
Yeah, it was probably, yeah, I can, more than that, I'd say, because I've been out in Los Angeles for 10 years, and I think I met you
So
a good,
11.
few years, a couple of years prior to me moving to Los Angeles. So,
And
yeah.
Carrie's had a really positive effect and influence on my life with all of the way that she lives her lifestyle. And I've done readings with her, and we'll talk more about that too. I want to ask you, okay, so you've gone through this list. Um, what are some of your favorite breathing practices and meditation techniques? Because I know sometimes when we talk about those, people they don't have a lot of experience with those as much.
Yes. Okay. So, with meditation, I always say, Um, so a walk can be meditation. You don't have to sit and be quiet. We want to ultimately train the brain to be quiet because a lot of us have active minds. And so like reading, cooking, walking, those are all forms of meditation. Um, for me, I do a seated meditation, and the breathing techniques I use, I always, let's say I'm in a state of, anxiousness, just feeling a little ungrounded, not settled. So I'll do a longer inhale. I'll hold the breath, breathe in, hold for a count of 3, and then breathe out for a count of 3. And I'll do that repeatedly for, like 5 times until I know I can feel like my energy calming. And if I recommend often in my reading sessions, if I sense that someone is really having a difficult time, whether it's grief, whether they're really hyper anxious or super active mind, then breath work, which is it's 2 breaths in through the mouth, 1 breath out. In through the mouth, out. So it's a rapid form of breathing. You want to be lying down when you do that. But what that type of breath work does is it bypasses that fight or flight response, the mid part of the brain, which tells us to be afraid. I mean, it's a protective mechanism. Our brain, we have these mechanisms for a reason, but we don't want to stay in that active state if nothing's really happening. Our minds can kind of create illusions, create fears that aren't maybe real, or we've had trauma experiences that we're still kind of stuck in. So the breath work really helps to connect with the body, connect with your heart, calm the nervous system, calm the brain. And so whether it's long inhales or getting out on a walk, just breathing fresh air, or doing the rapid breath, any of those techniques, those are like some of my favorite techniques. I'd love to know what techniques you like. But yeah, those are kind of my go-tos.
So,
When
so is the one that you just explained, is it?
it's 2 breaths in and 1 out. And why have people breathe through the mouth like that? In breathwork classes, they do that. It's all guided. But like if you're by yourself, you don't want to do this re- repeated breath. I always guide people to know that you're going to feel a little tingly. You want to be lying down. But sometimes we're not breathing. When we're stressed, we're not breathe. We have to breathe. I mean, we die if we don't breathe. But we're it's that shallow breath. We're not letting the oxygen like really get to the lower belly, filling the lungs, and that's what we want. And so breathing in through the mouth bypasses the brain again to help the person take those deeper breaths. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it totally does. In response, my yoga snack that I sent out last week, the breath of joy.
I love.
So,
Yes.
so those of you who don't know, I send out these yoga snacks. I've started sending them
They're
once
awesome.
a week, and they're like 3 to 5 minute yoga practices, and some of them are movement with breath, some of them are just breathing practices. And last week was the breath of joy, which was so it's a 3-part inhale through your nose, moving your arms, and then out your mouth, and it's really powerful. And so that's one of my favorites. And then I also do the alternate nostril. That's another favorite of mine.
Yes.
So So breath work is powerful. Willow just keeps posting so many cute comments. I don't know if you could see them,
I
but
see it.
they're really adorable.
Brett, I love it. I love it.
So it's one of those things, like, like some things are becoming mainstream. Like it took a little while, not that long, for yoga to become mainstream, but now the real essence of yoga, they're little bits by bit, are coming into mainstream, and that is the breathing practice. All these postures, the core power, the physical practice, nothing wrong with that, but the really powerful stuff that has kind of is a little bit slow to have caught on is pranayama, breathing techniques,
Yes.
and they're so huge. And of course, meditation, but it's still daunting to a lot of people. So I love the fact that you just said, it could be walking, it could be cooking, it could be anything that basically just takes you out of, analyzing and um, being, just thinking, going into the cyclic cycle of thought. So present moment stuff, you have to focus on your cooking. And when you're walking, ideally, you're focusing on your walk, that sort of thing. So thank you
Yeah.
for pointing that out.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. It's, kind of moving past, again, the thoughts, like looking in your environment. It's, it's a practice of mindfulness, just being aware of what's around you and trying to just relax those thoughts, even for a moment.
Yeah. A lot of people think you're supposed to just like drop into this like nothingness of no thought of just, and that's sometimes, it's really hard for beginners to do, and sometimes even advanced practitioners, depending on how much stress you have in your life at that moment.
Yeah.
So people just don't even try at all. They're like, I can't do it.
Right. Yeah. So I'm all for physical exercise, like moving the body, just to assist with that, because if that's something that feels good and it allows your those thoughts to kind of drop for a moment, then
Mm-hmm.
and then it keeps you healthy. Movement keeps you
Yeah.
healthy.
A friend of mine calls it habit stacking. So
Oh, I
honestly,
like
like
that.
walking and breath work and your meditation, that's 3 in 1.
I like it.
You
Yes,
know,
it is.
my one of my clients just posted, she does this while folding laundry, and I've actually gotten her, she now walks every day almost for like an hour and a half, and her life has changed. It's
It's yeah.
sunshine, it's all those things you listed.
Yeah, I have to get outside in nature like that. That is, yeah, it's just what is most healing sometimes for me. It's just getting out in nature.
Let's talk about your oils and what you do on a daily basis, maybe daily routine. I know you mentioned like sage and Palo Santo for clearing, but which ones do you use, and how do you use them specifically?
Well, I use this one, the Love,
Okay.
often. This is,
Okay.
yeah, my daily go-to. Really, out of all the chakra sprays, like today, since we were talking, I have the throat chakra, and then my focus, which it helps just concentration helps bring the energy to focus.
Mm-hmm.
But my daily ones are the Love and the Light. So the Love just helps to kind of, as an empath, like I usually hold a lot. I feel energy mostly in the heart chakra. It depends on the person, or even on the phone. I sense, and most of my readings are all by phone, so I'm always sensing and perceiving energy. So I love the Love spray just to lift and clear. I like today before we started, I was smelling it out of the bottle, but ideally you want to just spray your hands, inhale, and then I just sweep my aura, sweep the back of my neck just to kind of charge my auric field. And I carry this in my purse. I always like travel because they're disinfectant, antibacterial. So those two I use daily. At night I spray my linens with the light spray. Another spray I created for so part of my work is I also formulate for other brands, and so a good friend of mine, Joy, who of Communion by Joy Jewelry, her
She
Archangel
designed
Michael.
this necklace.
Yes, and I'm wearing her jewelry.
Love, 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 love.
um, so, so the Archangel Michael spray that I did for her, created for her, I use
Can I
often.
see that one? Will you
Oh
hold that
yeah.
one up?
So this one I have on my meditation table, and so when I'm done meditating, I always spray my aura, or when I'm preparing to do a reading, I spray my aura with this one first. And then in my sessions, then I'll use all the other chakra sprays depending on what the person needs. So Love and Light are my daily go-tos, the Archangel Michael, and then the fragrances. I mean, I every day I kind of go in themes. With my fragrances, I kind of go with my mood. They were created that way, the different collections, and I can talk about that if you want.
Yeah, I do.
But yeah, I always select a different fragrance based on how I'm feeling. So lately I've been wearing one that I formulated for another brand that hasn't been released yet, but it's wood. Like I like woodsy scents usually, but if I'm feeling like I need a little like uplifting, then I'll use the Amore Eternal, which is has a lot of like rose geranium, ylang ylang. It's very light floral. Um, and with the different collections that I create, so the Soul series is my most recent collection, and that series was based on my idea of what places smell like at different points of time. So I have Paris Barber 1922. It's kind of like soapy and has bay and just I was picturing like a barber shop in France, like where it just like using a lot of soap and a razor and just just that clean smelling beautiful scent. And then California Haze was a scent that I created. It's based on the year I moved out here. It's meant to smell like California after a haze. Sometimes you smell so much green. There has green cognac, like this really green, fresh smelling scent with neroli, the orange blossoms. Like we have those in Arizona too, where the smell of orange blossoms is just so refreshing. It's just so that was another one I did. But yeah, and Aspen Glow. So they all have a theme. They're all just based on my idea of what places
Well, I
smell
think I
like.
have Aspen. That one was it was almost like a campfire-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one is really special to me. That's we used to go to Colorado when I was a child from Illinois. We'd take road trips. I come from a big family. I think you know this. I have 4 siblings, and we would take road trips in a van. And but we spent a lot of time in Colorado and that region, and those are some of my fondest memories. And so I tried to capture the scent of campfire, of yeah, just smoke in the air, but the scent of cedar, like the pines, the vanilla has that like a sweet smell sometimes, and then pine, and so that scent was meant to kind of capture that energy of being in the mountains and under the stars, that kind of thing.
I will tell you that Carrie always smells amazing. Obviously, of course she does. But I would say that, I mean, I'm always, my students, if you know me, I'm always spraying somebody. I'm spraying myself all the time. And then in all my classes, I use aromatherapy too. Always, and even just like hanging out with people, like, do you want to spray? Do you want, a little bit of aromatherapy? Like, it changes things instantly. It's another one of those things. It's like suddenly, or whatever it is you need. And it's such a great practice. And I know maybe you could talk a little bit to the process of nose to mind and nose and emotions. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes. So yeah, there is a science to all of this. The essential oil. So when I created, let's say the chakra spray specifically, each blend, it has therapeutic value. So they have oils that work on an emotional level, spiritual level. They work with the brain. So there's a lot of science to aromatherapy. For instance, lemon oil can help your memory retention by 1,000% when you diffuse lemon oil in your environment. So that's a great oil to use when preparing for a test, or if there's something that you really need to remember. It's also very soothing. So people that suffer from anxiety or attention imbalances, that lemon oil is great to diffuse in environments like that for balance and to help the brain. So every formula that I've created is they're intuitively formulated, although they have, when I go back and when I did the initial chakra sprays, I I know it sounds funny, but I received basically recipes, and I looked up in books to make sure after I created the formulas to make sure that they did relate to the chakras, that okay, is grapefruit oil good for the solar plexus, and so I got confirmation, yes, those are all, like, they were very much in line. So these products also carry a vibration. I do channel when I formulate, and that's important too, because we're energy beings, and so these, the oils are meant to help the brain. They're meant to be therapeutic, help us emotionally, because that's the big thing is, sometimes we have daily stressors. We need little relief, and aromatherapy is immediate. Within a few seconds of breathing in an essential oil, those molecules begin to work with the frontal lobe, the midbrain, and start to have an effect on our bodies. They can help us relax. They can boost our mood. So they're pretty immediate, and that's why I got into aromatherapy, because I noticed the effects immediately when breathing them in or applying them to the skin. Because when you apply the oils to the skin, within 10 minutes, they're absorbed in the bloodstream and they have an effect. So they're really powerful and super effective, especially if you deal with just stress. They're just like give you a nice boost. You don't have to be into natural products to benefit from these formulas, these products, or essential oils in general.
And I know that I'm not up on all of the current studies, but I know that they're bringing lavender into the hospitals, for calming, even like to the degree that rather than using some opiates, lavender has a strong enough effect on some people to calm them to that degree.
For sedation, and marjoram is another oil that's really effective for sedation, for really, and valerian. Those
Amazing.
oils really help to calm the nervous system significantly. So yeah, they're powerful. And in Europe, the certification is very different from the United States. If I was certified in Europe, it's considered almost like a pharmacist. So they're medicine, but in the U.S. we just the category is different. So, but a lot of hospitals are starting to recognize the benefits of diffusing oils in the environment for their disinfectant, antibacterial properties, their therapeutic properties, but also on a scientific level, they actually kill germs. They have antibacterial properties. So it's pretty cool to see that hospitals are starting to incorporate that. It's awesome.
It's super awesome.
Yeah.
You brought up one, kind of oils being absorbed into the body. And I know this is very much a science too, and you could probably talk to the quality of oils, importance to where they're sourced, all that kind of stuff. Sure. But next week is my friend Yona, and she's an acupuncturist who's been studying using essential oils with acupuncture for the past 2 years. And so putting that on certain meridian points before, she uses the needle. And it's just so incredible. I think and I want people to know, like, I'm not just having like you on here as like, I want to, help Carrie get like her exposure to her products. It's not that at all. I mean, that's great, but it's like, this is stuff that I use and that has helped me tremendously over the years. Like Carrie's seen me at my lowest low. She's seen me come out of the depths of depression to, being very stable these days and pretty happy, and all of these little things practiced on a regular basis have added to that. So that is why you are here.
Yeah. And as a Virgo, you're so, you're so organized, and like, it helps me because I'm a Cancer. I like to be in my shell, just creating, not always I'm in the world, but, I have I guess a shyness to me too. So yeah, you've always kind of pushed me to share more, because really that's what as you're saying, this is about sharing, and I think, I know I'm a big, I feel like having these products is so important, and for my daily ritual, just to feel uplifted. So, and I definitely want people to benefit, because we underestimate stress. We underestimate how much responsibilities we kind of pile on daily, And so, we need these tools and outlets to feel balance in our lives, especially if we don't really have a way to relieve some of those responsibilities that we're carrying. And they work great with children. This is the thing is the whole family can use essential oils and these products. They're meant to bring light and relief, to environments and to our bodies.
Were oils used all around the world, or are there certain places where they were practiced more that made their way to the West?
Yeah, well, the pharmacy, like of essential, I would say, Europe primarily in France. France started with perfuming, but they were using essential oils. They're pure fragrances, and it goes back to Cleopatra. Cleopatra used to adorn herself with oils. Oils just like frankincense, myrrh, resins were really reserved as well as red wine for the elite or for people that could afford, these products. And they were traded. And so there's a very long history of the use and the value of these oils. But as we've come more mainstream, they become more commercialized. And as you've seen here in the U.S., we've gone through waves of you were talking about the therapeutic benefits and like how do we decipher what's a good oil to buy? Like how, there's a lot of companies out there nowadays. It's definitely become more mainstream over the last, I'd say 10 years, especially, which is awesome. But I feel like it started with there's more of the pyramid type essential oil companies. I know others that have been buying for years. I remember, going to the health food store at age 14 and buying oil. There's one brand, one brand on the shelves available at that time. And so yeah, it's become more mainstream, which is awesome. But there's a very, very long history to the use of these oils and the origin.
Do you have any lines that you want to recommend in particular, or do you want to give advice on how people can shop for the ones that are the best? Because some of them I know you take internally. You have to make sure that those are, for internal use, of course.
Yeah. And as an aromatherapist, I don't encourage ingesting the oils. If you were to, like, Young Living has been around. I don't use Young Living. I actually have relationships with farms that are producing beyond therapeutic grade. I just developed relationships. So those are not available to everyone. But if I were to, Young Living is, if you're ingesting them, which I don't really recommend unless it's a drop because they're very, very concentrated. Young Living is a credible brand. I like their products. I think they're expensive, but I think they're effective. But if, let's say you're diffusing at home, even the Now brands in most stores, they're not like super therapeutic grade. But I think when you're diffusing in your environment, you don't need that. You want therapeutic grade when you're ingesting or applying to the skin because they're getting into your bloodstream. But yeah, the Now brand it's a commercial brand that I feel like is affordable. They have decent oils. It all depends. I think when you're looking for the therapeutic grade, usually practitioners are the ones that have those available. So yeah, but I think it's important to do some homework, investigate, to make, kind of know where the oils are coming from. But I always want to give people like that. I'm recommending the Now brand only because I know it's available. I want people to just start even diffusing in their environment and see how they feel and not feel like they have to spend a fortune to do that.
Okay. Hey, I think maybe a question or two popped up while we were talking, so I just want to see what's there. Let's see here.
She is incredible.
Oh, did you see that?
I'm with you.
Have you met Demita yet, Carrie?
I don't think so, no.
She was my interviewee a few weeks ago about the Black Empowerment Project.
Oh, I can't wait to watch. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Hi.
So if you guys enact, yeah, the question was actually about sourcing and what you use. So, and Willow says she would like to scratch and sniff this video. So that's great, which is
That's
awesome.
awesome.
But if anybody has any questions, they can send them in right now. I want to show you, I did this yesterday when Carrie and I were testing things out. Um, I want to just show like how I actually use them in my life. So I'm going to take you guys with me in my house and show you Carrie's products that I do, like my little daily rituals. So at my back door, before I leave my house, I have this little area, and this is that one she was talking about before, the archangel. So I do like this little spray around me, and it's like I think, Carrie, a lot of this is intention too. It's like your intention behind the ritual that you're performing. Like my intention is also creating kind of like a protective sort of energy around me, so I'm not hemorrhaging energy in or out.
Yes. Yeah. Like really all of the chakra sprays, that particular, I receive guided messages. So they either have an affirmation or they have a message to
Yeah.
kind of help the person when setting those intentions.
So speaking of which, so here's like most of my collection. So I have my indoor yoga studio here, which is set up like, studio style now because it's COVID days. So I got my lights and everything. But this is my little altar where I do my daily intentions and that kind of stuff. And I use these, and I just want to show you. So her sprays, like this one, her light one is for the seventh chakra, and it has an intention on the back. It says, I am divine. When we believe in our own divinity, we become limitless. And so it's true. And you read that, you sit with it, and you do whatever ritual works for you. And I've used them since the first time I've, bought my first, round with you, which was now 11 years ago.
I love
Oh, and then I have, here we go. Here's my little box of Carrie's perfumes.
Oh.
Yeah, she's sent me some over the years. I've gotten some. And yeah, and then these little ones too. So I have them all the time. Like, so I just want to show you that I really use this stuff, and it makes me happy.
I'm so glad.
Do you have, Carrie, some other? Do you want to talk about your readings at all? We've got
Sure.
15 minutes, and if people want to like get to know you, or number one, they can go to your website. Tell them about your website, like, and your oils and your things that are available on your website.
Sure. So on my website, I tried to put everything together. So, the origin of, so my brand is Life Aromatherapy, and I came up with that name years ago because these are all of my work, all of the products are meant to be tools to help people in their lives, at any age, at any time. So they're really just tools to bring along on that journey. And so on the website, lifearomatherapy.com, you can find a page for my readings. I do a lot of collaborations with, I'm really kind of selective with brands that I collaborate with as a formulator. But you'll see the collaborations I'm currently doing, and my skincare, and just all the products are there, and then the different fragrance collections. So I've tried to organize it so it's somewhat easy to navigate, but so the readings are part of my work, and I just love doing the readings. They're all channeled, they're all by phone. And they vary. Usually, basically, I just tune into a person's energy, their guides. I never know what's going to come through, and they're usually really healing and empowering. And that's what that's really my purpose, is to be that vehicle of that higher consciousness, that higher vibrational energy. I call it, God, love energy, whatever you want to call it. But it's, the healing part of that is really, I feel like, helpful. Like it's like condensed counseling. There might be something that, you've been holding on to that slowly unravels, like in this session, or I mean, my readings aren't about predictions, although things, in the future come up, but I don't like the readings to be about that. I want them to very, very much be in the now energy. So people do ask me questions. They may have specific things they're struggling with. So we cover everything. Yeah, I love doing the reading. So I open myself up to be a vehicle for whatever information needs to come through for that person. I often, most of the time, I do not remember what happens in a reading. I don't remember the information. And I think that's purposeful because there's a lot of sacredness. This is when someone comes to me, I hold space for them because they're vulnerable in a way, and I think that's really sacred. And so I don't think Carrie, is meant to remember everything that they're going through. My role is to just hold space for them and be the vehicle and let that information, higher vibrational energy, come through to help them with their healing and help them on their journey. So I have clients that do check-ins and when they're going through transitions or when they need a little support, but they're always very like loving and healing. And I love the reading so much. I'm very, very grateful for that work. And and I feel like the products are like my little way of like, here, take this, like go, pretty bird. And then, here, keep this light up, keep that vibration up, keep doing things that are going to improve and make your life better,
I think they are totally that. And there's that power of association too. So if like, associating that powerful reading that they just had with you with now a scent, that they've, linked to that, and a ritual that brings them back to that. Because I've had readings with you. I probably had maybe 5 over the years. And yeah, so, and it always is very like, there's a really powerful, clearing, pure, supportive energy to them. So as often as you can connect to that, and that kind of goes back to the science of positive psychology and psychology in general and spiritual psychology. It's like the power of emotion. That's right now what it's stronger than thought. Sometimes we can use thought to create an emotion, often, definitely, but we can also use intention to create an emotion, and that emotion takes us to a certain vibration. Mm-hmm. So like the practice of gratitude is a huge one, and people are doing studies on the power of immunity, the way it boosts our immune system. Sure. And so many things. So that being said, I'm just kind of driving or wanting to make the point that, meeting with Carrie, it attunes you to a different vibration that is really powerful and helpful.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Yeah, I think I think having that awareness, I think once you kind of encounter that vibration, at least, for me, it's like being around like a grandma, someone that holds a lot of love, and you're like, I just want them to love me, hold me,
Yeah.
And that's what they're meant to be, because we all have free will and I want to empower people to build yourself up, develop the tools for yourself. And I just want to be a support, and I want my products to be a support, but ultimately I want to encourage people to find the things that help them build from within and help them feel relief in their daily lives. And so yeah, and I love that you touched on just the practice of gratitude, because I'm all about that, because people think that being positive or just being thankful for things is easy, or like, oh, you're ignoring, real life and real things that happen. And it is a practice. It is a practice, a discipline to keep your energy, keep your mindset in that state of mind, always looking for the silver lining, always kind of seeing it does lift your vibration, which, as you mentioned, helps heal the body. It helps our immunity, helps our nervous system, really energetically can help tremendously. So, and people underestimate that, I feel. Just just being positive alone. I mean, I forget the scientists that studied plants, when you give them water that is, I can't believe do you know who I'm talking about, where they
talking to plants?
Or water, you see the chemistry when
the Japanese doctor who did the water studies. Yeah, Emoto.
But yeah, our thoughts, our words have a vibrational effect on
Mm-hmm.
our bodies, on other people, you know, so that's where being mindful and just kind of keeping those vibrations positive really helps. It helps with a number of things outside of the physical self. It helps with what you kind of attract in your life and, you know, all of that. So,
Carrie's referring to this Japanese, I believe he's Japanese scientist who did this messages in water. And
yes,
so he would have like water bottles. And he did a few different things. He would like tape or put a label on that would say love, and then one that would say hate. And then he would look at the water molecules from those bottles underneath the microscope, and the love ones would be just like really these incredible crystalline, like snowflake, really dymagnetic, molecules. And then
perfectly formed. Yes.
yeah, perfectly formed. And then the hate ones would be all like, like asymmetrical and just weird. And the same thing with music. He would, put one in a room with like classical, really inspired pieces, and another one with in just really kind of dark heavy
Harsh.
metal
Yeah.
type
Yeah.
stuff. And so and we're mostly water. And so
Yes.
it's like, if you think about what we're taking in any of our senses, what that's doing to our chemistry and our molecular structure. I mean, the shit's real is
It
the
is.
point here. The
It
shit's
is.
real. Look at us under a microscope. Somebody who's super positive and somebody who's not, I bet it would be the same.
Yeah, and I'm all for being real about what's happening in your life. But you know, we again we have to develop some methods to help ourselves move out of those spaces. And I write every month. I write about the full moon. Sometimes I'll write about the new moon, but I like to write about the full moons because moons, full moons, they pull our emotions out. They have a very strong effect, and new moons are all about renewal. And so I like to write about the full moons because it's usually when people are a little more emotional and they need some guidance or assistance. And just as the moon pulls our ocean tides, like it pulls on our energy as well. And it's kind of fun to pay attention to that. Sometimes people don't recognize, like, well, why is everything haywire? And then I'm like, is it a full moon?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe check, because it probably is. And this is a longer discussion because we've had planets in retrograde, but I like to help people become aware of how the moon and these planets also affect our body, that we're more than just our physical self. We have a consciousness, we have an auric field, we're energy bodies, and we sometimes need a little help.
For sure. Awareness is huge. Just becoming more aware takes us to a different level. That being said, so we're coming up to, I think, just a few minutes left. So I want to do a few things. One, for your listeners, I want to let them know that they can find me if anybody's interested in recovery or life transition coaching, which I also often send people to people like Carrie and other healers of different types. So nikkiaiello.com is where you can find information about me. And
Oh,
so
awesome.
and so Carrie not only does, she has her product line, but she also does meditation circles, often, I think, for women as well, specifically.
Yes, men are invited, but
Men invited.
yeah, I have a tendency to usually have women. Um,
And so you can find Carrie on her website, lifearomatherapy.com. And I assume they can get sign up for like your newsletter so they can be up to date
Yeah,
on
sign up
things.
for my newsletter. I'm actually putting out the latest. I'm on Instagram. I just realized, I think we're on my personal page, Carrie Keller, for this interview, but or you can follow on my Life Aromatherapy Instagram page. But I'll do postings on any events, or I'll do my new moon postings there on my Life Aromatherapy page specifically.
And I think maybe you were going to offer something
Oh,
for.
yes. So, anyone listening to this, when you listen until the end, obviously, you don't have to, you can fast forward, but I hope you listen, because Nikki, you're so awesome. I adore and appreciate you so much. And I believe in your work, and you're just such an excellent teacher. But I'm offering 15% on off of any products until the end of the month. So you can go to my website, liferomatherapy.com, use the code be well, and you'll get 15% off any product. And you can do multiple products, whatever you want, but that's for you. It's a thank you for just tuning in and being here and devoting your time.
Cool. That's so great. You guys, and check out her stuff. And let me just make sure that because if there are any questions, we can come back on separately
Okay.
in a minute and do that. So let me just see. Stargazer. No new questions, but you can always reach out to Carrie specifically. Please do. Her readings are awesome, all of that stuff. So, what else, Carrie? I'm just so happy. This is fun. This is so fun. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thanks to all your listeners. And this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me today.
Okay, well, everybody, have a wonderful day. Wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in. And so the rest of this month, we've got next week acupuncture with Yona. So she uses the aromatherapy. And then after that, I have 2 sessions with Carolina Morelli, who is an integrative holistic health coach who uses a lot of nutrition and aromatherapy in her practice. I met her at a public speaking conference a year and a half ago. And so that's going to be really fun. And maybe I'll have Carrie back on to go deeper into any of these subjects, because we just kind of washed over all of the stuff that she does. So anyway, tune back in, and this will be posted. We'll have links, so you can share this with other people too. All right.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.